Hey up, YouTube, welcome back to another video with Rams fan YT. In today's video, we will be looking at the history of the last season's champions of the championship, Norwich City. They were formed after a meeting at the Criterion Cafe in Norwich on the 17th of June 1902. And they played their first competitive match against Harwich and Parkerston at Newmarket Road on the 6th of September 1902. They joined the Norfolk and Suffolk League for the 1902-03 season, but following an FA commission, the club was ousted from the amateur game in 1905 as it was deemed a professional organisation. Later that year, Norwich were elected to play in the Southern League. With increasing crowds, they were forced to leave Newmarket Road in 1908 and moved to the Nest, which was at that time a disused chalk pit. The club's original nickname was the Citizens, but this was superseded by 1907 by the more familiar Canaries, after the club's chairman, who was actually a keen breeder of canaries. And he dubbed his boys the Canaries and changed their strip to yellow and green. During the First World War, with football suspended and facing spiralling debts, City went into voluntary liquidation on the 10th of December 1917. The club was officially reformed on the 15th of April 1919. A key figure in the event was Charles Frederick Watling, who was future Lord Mayor of Norwich and the father of future club chairman Geoffrey Watling. When, in May 1920, the Football League formed a third division, Norwich joined the third division for the following season. Their first league fixture against Plymouth Argyle on the 28th of August 1920 ended in a 1-1 draw. The club went on to endure a mediocre decade, finishing no higher than 8th but no lower than 18th. The following decade proved more successful for the club, with a club record victory of 10-2 over Norwich City, and promotion as champions to the second division in the 1933-34 season under the management of Tom Parker. With crowds continuing to rise, and with the Football Association raising concerns over the suitability of the Nest, the club considered a renovation of the ground, but ultimately decided on a move to Carrow Road. The inaugural match on the 31st of August 1935 was against West Ham United. It ended in a 4-3 victory for the home team and set a new record attendance of 29,779. The biggest highlight of the following 4 seasons was the visit of King George VI to Carrow Road on the 29th of October 1938. However, the club was relegated to the third division at the end of the season. The league was suspended the following season due to the Second World War, and did not resume until the 1946-47 season. City finished this and the following season in 21st place. The poor results forced the club to reapply for election to the league, not once but twice, I think. And the club narrowly missed out on promotion under the guidance of manager Norman Lowe in the early 1950s, but following the return of Tom Parker as manager, Norwich finished bottom of the Football League in the 1956-57 season. The 1958-59 season saw Norwich reach the semi-finals of the FA Cup as a third division side, defeating 2 first division sides on the way of Tottenham Hotspur and Matt Busby's Manchester United. In the 1959-60 season, Norwich were promoted to the second division after finishing second to Southampton, and achieved a 4th place finish in the 1960-61 season. In 1962, Ron Ashman guided Norwich to their first trophy, defeating Rochdale 4-0 on aggregate in the 2-legged final to win the League Cup. 6th place in the league was the closest the club came to promotion to the first division again during the 1960s. After winning the division in the 1971-72 season, under the management of Ron Saunders, Norwich City reached the highest level of English football for the first time. They made their first appearance at Wembley Stadium in 1973, losing the League Cup final 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. Relegation to the second division in 1974 came after Saunders had departed and had been succeeded by John Bond. But the board of directors kept faith in Bond and were quickly rewarded so. A highly successful first season saw promotion back to the first division and another visit to Wembley, again in the League Cup final. This time they lost 1-0 to Aston Villa. Bond departed to Manchester City in the autumn of 1980, and the club were therefore relegated 6 months later. But they did bounce back the following season after finishing third under Bond's successor Ken Brown. In August 1981, Norwich City striker Justin Fashanu became the first black footballer to command a £1 million transfer fee when he moved to Nottingham Forest. The 1984-85 season was of mixed fortunes for the club under Ken Brown's guidance. They reached the final of the Football League Cup at Wembley Stadium, having defeated Ipswich Town in the semi-final. In the final, they beat Sunderland 1-0. But in the league, both Norwich and Sunderland were relegated to the second tier of English football. This made Norwich the first English club to win a major trophy and suffer relegation in the same season, something which was not matched until Birmingham City also suffered relegation the season they won the League Cup 26 years later. Norwich were also denied their first foray into Europe with the ban of English clubs after the Heysel Stadium disaster. City bounced back to the top flight by winning the second division championship in the 1985-86 season. This was the start of a club record of 9 consecutive seasons in the top division of English football. High league placing in the first division in 1988-89 would have been enough for UEFA Cup qualification, but the ban of English clubs still remained. They also had good cup runs during this period, reaching the FA Cup semi-finals in 1989 and again in 1992. During 1992-93, the inaugural season of the Premier League, Norwich City quickly emerged as surprise title contenders, before eventually faltering off in the final weeks to finish third behind the champions Manchester United and runners-up Aston Villa. Their top scorer that season was Mark Robins, who had been signed from Manchester United the previous summer. The following season, Norwich participated in the UEFA Cup for the first and so far only time, losing in the third round to Inter Milan, but they did defeat Bayern Munich, winning 2-1. Norwich were the first British team to beat Bayern Munich in the Olympic Stadium. Mike Walker quit as Norwich City manager in January 1994 to take charge of Everton, and was replaced by first-team coach John Deehan, who led the club to a 12th place finish in the 1993-94 season in the Premier League. Norwich began the 1994-95 season well, despite the pre-season loss of top scorer Chris Sutton to Blackburn Rovers for a national record £5 million. And by Christmas they were 7th in the league. Norwich then won only one of their final 20 league games and slumped to 20th place and relegation, ending a 9-year season run in the top flight. Shortly before relegation, Deehan had resigned as manager, and his assistant Gary Megson took over until the end of the season. Martin O'Neill, who had taken Wycombe Wanderers from conference to the second division with successive promotions, was appointed as Norwich City manager in the summer of 1995. He lasted only 6 months in the job before resigning after a dispute with chairman Robert Chase over money to strengthen the squad. Soon after, Chase stepped down after protests from supporters, who complained that he kept selling the club's best players and was to blame for their relegation. Chase's majority stakeholding was bought by Geoffrey Watling. English television cook Delia Smith and her husband Michael Wynne Jones took over the majority of Norwich City's shares from Watling in 1996. Wow, she's been up for a while, hasn't she? And Mike Walker was reappointed as the club's manager. He was unable to repeat the success achieved during his first spell and was sacked 2 seasons later with Norwich mid-table in Division 1. Nigel Worthington took over as Norwich City manager in December 2000 following an unsuccessful 2 years with the club under Bruce Rioch and then Brian Hamilton. He had been on the coaching staff under Hamilton, who resigned with the club 20th in the First Division and in pretty real danger of relegation to the third tier of English football for the first time since the 1960s. Worthington avoided the threat of relegation, and the following season led City to a playoff final at the Millennium Stadium, which Norwich lost against Birmingham City on penalties. The 2003-04 campaign saw the club win the First Division title, finishing 8 points clear of second-placed West Bromwich Albion, and returned to the top flight for the first time since 1995. For much of the 2004-05 season, the club struggled, and despite beating Manchester United 2-0 towards the end of the season, a last day 6-0 defeat away to Fulham condemned them to relegation. The club finished in 9th place in the Championship in the 2005-06 season, and as results in the 2006-07 season went against City, manager Nigel Worthington was sacked in October 2006, directly after a 4-1 defeat by Burnley. On the 16th of October 2006, Norwich announced that former City player Peter Grant had left West Ham United to become the new manager, and in February 2007, Grant replaced assistant Doug Livermore with his fellow Scot Jim Duffy. Grant's side struggled for most of the season and made a poor start to the 2008 season with only 2 wins by mid-October. Following a 1-0 defeat at fellow strugglers Queen's Park Rangers, Grant left the club by mutual consent on the 9th of October 2007. On the 30th of October 2007, former Newcastle United manager Glenn Roeder was confirmed as Grant's replacement. Roeder kept Norwich in the Championship with a 3-0 win over Queen's Park Rangers, Norwich's penultimate game of the season. On the 14th of January 2009, it was announced that Roeder had been relieved of his first-team duties after 60 games in charge and just 20 victories. A week later, Brian Gunn was appointed as manager until the end of the season, but he was unable to prevent the club from being relegated on the 3rd of May 2009 after a 4-2 away defeat at already relegated Charlton Athletic. Following their relegation, their first game of the season resulted in a shock 7-1 home defeat against East Anglian rivals Colchester United. I bet you all thought I was going to say Ipswich Town, but no. This was the club's heaviest ever home defeat, and Gunn was sacked 6 days later. On the 18th of August 2009, Paul Lambert was announced as the new manager, leaving his post at Colchester, and 9 months later led Norwich to promotion back to the Championship as League One champions after a single season in League One. The following season saw Norwich promoted to the Premier League, finishing second in the table and completing the first back-to-back promotions from the third tier to the first since Manchester United had done so in the year 2000. The club finished in 12th place in their first season back in the Premier League. However, Lambert resigned within a month of the season's close to take up the vacant managerial spot at league rivals Aston Villa and was replaced by Chris Hughton. The 2012-13 season started poorly, but a club at a record unbeaten run in the Premier League secured their third year in the Premier League with an 11th place finish in the league. They were relegated back to the Championship after finishing 18th in the 2013-14 season, and Hughton was sacked. After a mediocre first half of the 2014-15 season, Neil Adams resigned, which paved the way for the appointment of then Hamilton academical manager Alex Neil in January 2015. The appointment reinvigorated Norwich's season, and victory in the 2015 Championship playoff final secured an immediate return to the top division of English football. This was only temporary relief, as at the end of next season, they were relegated again to play in the 2016-17 season in the Football League Championship. The following season, most started successfully, with the club sitting at the top of the Championship in mid-October. However, a poor run of form and results followed, and on the 10th of March 2017, Alex Neil was sacked by the club. First team coach Alan Irvine was placed in caretaker charge for the remainder of the season, where they ultimately finished in 8th. On the 25th of May 2017, the club appointed German coach Daniel Fark as head coach, becoming the first head coach of a club in its 114-year history that was not from the British Isles. In Fark's first season, Norwich finished in 14th place. Despite a slow start, the following season was far more successful, and the team spent most of the season at the top end of the table, helped on by scorer Teemu Pukki, and following a 2-1 win over Blackburn Rovers, the club was promoted back to the Premier League after a 3-year absence as Championship winners. However, Norwich were once again relegated back down to the Championship after just a single season in the top flight, becoming the first team in Premier League history to be relegated 5 times from the division. On the 1st of May 2021, Norwich were crowned champions of the 2020-21 EFL Championship, securing promotion back to the top flight at the first time of asking. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you are new around here, and that'll be hugely appreciated. We've got some great things coming up. I'm going to do are all living England managers, past England managers now, and what they're doing. Bit of Euros related, kind of not. And then I'll be doing the history of Nottingham Forest, I think it is. Oh, that's going to be great, isn't it? So I will see you then.